Now to the main news this morning that the UK has entered the deepest recession on record after the economy plunged by more than 20% between April and June. I'm pleased to say that we can be joined now from Staffordshire by John Caudwell, the founder of Phones for You. John, good to speak to you. Thanks for taking the time to do so today. You, I think, forecasted around a 15% drop, so worse than even you thought.
No. I forecast up to 15% drop for the year. What we're seeing now is 20% for the quarter, which is actually slightly better news than I forecast. At the moment, now it looked like an annual GDP drop of somewhere around the 10%, but I think it'll probably be worse than that. But much more concerning is the job losses, because my forecast all along has been 2 to 3 million job losses. I now think it's going to be 3 to 4 million job losses. And the strain that this puts on the economy of the UK is, of course, absolutely dramatic, not to mention the devastating effect on human beings in this country.
On that, the Chancellor Rishi Sunak, in his interview with Ed Conway, said no one will be left without hope or opportunity. Do you think that's true?
Well, I think that will be the Conservative Party's aim, as it would any of us. You know, we want to try and make certain that all people have got hope, all people have got jobs, and all people have got the ability to work. But the reality is going to be very, very different, because unless the government employ my plan, which we've called the Caudwell Recovery Plan, we will not actually get through this for many, many, many years. There has never in the history of Britain been such a compelling need to invest massively into the economy. It's not the Keynesian policy of pouring money into the economy. It's a policy of investing in the UK as a business, generating jobs through creating businesses, helping businesses prosper, inward investment from businesses that are based in foreign territories, apprenticeship schemes and infrastructure. And if we do all that, and we can do that by borrowing hundreds of billions, we will massively take the pressure off the economy and get people back to work in the fastest possible way.
I mean, you know as well as I do that more conservative-minded people, when you say borrowing hundreds of billions more, maybe even trillions, will balk at that idea. How do you back up that assertion that you think that's the way to go?
Well, because this is a complex discussion, but I'll try and sum it up very quickly. It's very, very simply that there's never been a set of circumstances like this in our history. And the circumstances that make it compelling is, first of all, the devastating effect on the economy. Secondly, is as a consequence of that effect, the government are going to have to borrow hundreds of billions to pay people to be sitting on the dole doing nothing, and also they'll be losing colossal sums of revenue as a consequence of tax and VAT returns reducing. So there's an absolute bombshell waiting to go off in the UK economy from that point of view. But then along with that, there's all those millions of people that are just not going to be spending, not going to be helping other businesses to prosper. So the compelling need to invest is there. Now, can we afford it? Absolutely we can. And the simple reasons for that are that we've got the lowest interest rates ever in the history of the UK. We're 0.1% interest rate. The cost of borrowing is almost zero. Secondly, all countries are in the same boat, so I don't expect any run on the pound. And thirdly, we're in times of more pressure on a deflationary environment than an inflationary environment. So I don't believe for one moment that we have to worry about inflation. In fact, the reverse. We have to worry about deflation and requiring some inflation.
So I wonder what you think about a story we'll talk about in our paper review in a few minutes. Matthew Lynn writing in The Telegraph today saying the way out of this, nobody ever taxed their way back to prosperity. He is advocating deregulation, embracing zero-hours contracts, helping the gig economies is the only way to create new jobs and get past this. What do you think about that?
Well, that's just tunnel vision. It's mono-simplistic. It's just one point. That is not the point. The point that the only way of saving this economy is my 4-point plan, which is investment into the infrastructure of the UK, attracting inward investment, putting massive investment into apprenticeship schemes that are highly valued, and building the world's first renewable energy city and making us renewable energy experts for the future. If we don't do all or some of those, we will not recover from this for probably 10 years or more.
John, just thinking about, just finally, that your plan is a decade-long, if not more, economic plan. Do you think that the government is thinking that far ahead at the moment? And not just the British government, but, you know, I mean, possibly anyone apart from the Chinese. Are they thinking that far ahead?
Well, of course, that is the problem with short-term governments, isn't it? But I think if the government do the right things and put my plan into action, even though it won't have an immediate effect, people will be able to see that in the long term, there's real hope of getting out of these probably 4 million unemployed, that there's real hope for creating prosperity and real hope for being able to support British workers again over the next 10 years. If they don't do this, I'm afraid we're in for a long, hard recovery over many years more. Yes, it's bitted with less borrowing, but the borrowing won't probably fall that very far short because of the point I've made of reduced revenues and increased social costs.
John Caudwell, good to speak to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure. Thank you.